Hello, and thanks for joining the NB Media Co-op today. I'm speaking to one of the NB Media Co-op's contributors, Data Brainanta. He traveled on Sunday, May 19th to Moncton for a protest as part of the movement in solidarity with the people of Palestine and against the war or genocide in the Gaza Strip. Activists marched to Apex Industries in Moncton, which manufactures products that include components for F-35s, for the company Lockheed Martin. The American arms manufacturer sells fighter jets to a number of countries, including Israel. Data, I should point out that you're one of the organizers, one of several organizers, not an official spokesperson for the group, but a participant in this movement. Can you tell me, first of all, what the goal of your protest was on Sunday?
Yeah, so the protest on Sunday actually has several goals, I would say. Firstly, actually, it's to educate, I guess, the public, or to let the public know that we in New Brunswick here has industries that's feeding the kind of like the war machine that is currently complicit with the carnage that's currently ongoing in Gaza. So we want to kind of break the complacency. We have not much to do with that. That's probably mostly done by the military, industrial military complex down under in the States. It turns out that that's not the case. We have planned this probably about 1 or 2 months. We found out from a website, World Beyond Wars, that there are at least two companies located in New Brunswick. They have a map that shows military industrial related companies that's connected to Israel military. And there's two companies based in New Brunswick. One is Lockheed Martin in Oromocto, and the other one is Apex Industries in Moncton. To make a long story short, we also kind of researched a little bit of Lockheed Martin in Oromocto. Not much come out of that, but we found out that there is actually Apex Industries in Moncton that is quite publicly and actively promoting their product as part of the supplier of the components of fighter jet F-35, as well as some other like war machines, if I can say. I believe Apache helicopters also is part of it. So that's basically the first reasons why we're doing that protest. The other one also is we want to make a kind of like all New Brunswick actions. So the action last Sunday is actually participated and organized, I would say, by organization in 3 cities: Fredericton, St. John, and Moncton. So it's also an opportunity for us to get together, to know in persons and talk and discuss about. We basically have been doing the same thing. The same cause is for free Palestine and for arms embargo against Israel. So it's a good way to consolidate this organization across New Brunswick.
And I was going to ask how activists learned about the connection between Apex and Lockheed Martin. You mentioned it a moment ago, the website World Beyond War. And I'll just read from the website here. It notes that Apex is a supplier for, as you say, Lockheed Martin F-35s, producing structural components, it says, out of its Moncton facility. It goes on to state, the Israeli versions of these fighter jets, known as F-35-1, that might be F-35I, Adirs, are being used by the Israeli Air Force in its deadly bombing campaign of Gaza. So I guess, one question this raises is perhaps, whether the components produced in Moncton are actually directly involved in the bombing of Gaza. I think the answer is we don't really know. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, so the arm trade and the military industrial complex is not really a transparent industry where you can actually understand and look up online where each component goes or where it being exported. Yeah, but I guess yeah, the fact that we have actually in New Brunswick facilities that create this war machine is a start. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, the citizens have to proactively scrutinize these industries and employ their critical thinking to see how complicit these industries are in the war that's currently ongoing in Gaza, which if you follow it, if everybody follows it, I suppose, is now are getting into the stage where Israel has been considered by many countries as committing a genocide in Gaza. So I guess legally speaking, if Canada is actually supplying weapons, whether directly or indirectly, to Israel, Canada can be complicit in genocide, and that also includes this province.
The NB Media Co-op did reach out to Apex Industries for comment. I spoke briefly to the company's CEO, Keith Parley. He said that the company respects people's right to protest. He said the company's proud of their work and they employ a number of people. He said he doesn't know whether their components ultimately contribute to Israeli fighter jets and pointed out that many countries purchase F-35s, including Canada. And he emphasized, quote, we have no control over the products that are used, over how these products are used once they're provided to the I guess you could say customer, which in this case is the American aerospace military industrial complex, kind of giant Lockheed Martin. I want to ask, how do those comments from the Apex Industries CEO, Keith Parley, sit with you?
It is to be expected. It kind of echoes even government comments, and basically any parties that has interest or benefit from the act of war, and basically like just with simple logic, if you are in the business of creating weapons, of course you will benefit from wars, right? And the fact that each company or each part of the production stage is kind of like saying they don't know what's gonna happen to their product once they produce it. It's uh, it's just uh, it's just another way of how to keep the war machine going, without much disturbance, basically, because it's not by accident that in the military industrial complex and even the entire war itself is being done in a not transparent way. It's actually deliberately done like that. It's kind of like even like a cell system, like each is doing their own way without knowing the entire bigger pictures, so that the atrocities can be done without much public outcry. So that is actually the opposite that we are trying to do. We are trying to make this connection. We are trying to uh, put dots together and make the public aware that whatever they're doing, either paying taxes, as simple as paying taxes, purchasing or investing something, will actually contribute to an ongoing war and the atrocities that are currently going on in Gaza. So this concept of complicity is something that those who profits from war in Gaza will try to avoid, and that's why they keep it the secrecy, the veil of secrecy intact. So yeah, again, coming back to that, it is to be expected, and it is our work to actually expose that. And it's not that we have anything against certain company who produce parts like Apex Industries, but I think as a society we have to be able to determine, where our productive capacity or to what purpose our productive capacity is being used. Like Apex Industries doesn't have to actually produce war machines. It could probably produce public transportations, for example. Those are the kind of things that we want. By doing actions like this, we want to get the discussion going. The appetite for a better world is actually spreading among the public.
Hmm. You mentioned at the beginning, earlier in the interview, Data, that one of the goals is to raise awareness, but I think there's been pretty much a media blackout of this and other actions from the peace movement, if you will, in New Brunswick with respect to this war or genocide. And on the other hand, it was a chance for people to get together from these different parts of the province, wasn't it? You mentioned there were people there from not only Moncton, but also St. John, like yourself, and Fredericton, perhaps other places too. So I guess just could you comment on this? Yeah, the value of people getting together in this way, even if the media pretty much ignores it.
Yeah, definitely. So that is actually a very important point. Uh, I guess so far or before this war in Gaza, we somehow relied so much on the mainstream media to get our news, to understand how the world actually works. And just since this war in Gaza, that seems to really uh, be like turned upside down, if you can say. I'm not saying like exclusively since the war in Gaza. I mean, before that, there's other issues that the mainstream media hasn't been sharing with the public, if I can say. So it actually is kind of like a sad things that now we know through face of mainstream media what their limitation is and how much are they actually for the public or for other interests. But at the other end, there's also a good side of it is that we are more compelled to become a conscious agent of actually spreading the words. And this will actually requires, getting together as a community. That's partly what this whole action is about, is trying to create this is a community that tries to actually spread the news about peace, not just being complacent while feeding the war machine that's kind of complicit in Gaza, for example, right? That's the message. So I think everybody who's aware of what's going on, who are or educated in the sense, like a self-education, uh, should actually feel responsible to become its own media and yeah, basically act to spread news. Yeah.
So, Data, this is part of the larger boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign. And as I think you know, the company Apex has received funding from the federal and provincial levels of government over the years worth millions of dollars. I guess, what do you think about government subsidizing businesses such as this that are part of the military industrial complex?
Yeah, that's actually an important point that we actually need to bring up and that we start to inquire and discuss and criticize, definitely. I understand, the need for some sort of a military capacity to defend this nation. Definitely, I totally understand that every nation has the right to do that. But what happened now is that this country is actually engaging in a war that is far, far from its own boundaries, for example. So we have to start to ask ourselves, what sort of uh, military that Canada has. Is it really a defensive one or is it something else? That is one thing. And the other thing also in terms of the governments, including this province subsidizing industries, of course, that's also in general is a positive things. But then again, coming back to what sort of industries that this province wants to develop or this country wants to develop, that is something that the public has to have more say and control over. Uh, Again, we are now in a moment where we want to do a just transition from fossil-based industries, from like war industries, to a more peace, caring, nurturing to the earth, to the people. And that step has to be taken, and maybe this is an opportunity. We know that investing in fossil-based industries and war industries is basically being complicit in crimes against humanity. So why not we start to think about, how to how the government, for example, can incentivize the already existing industry with the technology that is already been quite developed and advanced in Canada, and New Brunswick itself is housed to an advanced industry like Apex in this case. So yeah, I think the discussion should start to happen where we should do that just transition from war industries, from Apex, for example, feeding the war uh, demands, to maybe feeding a more sustainable demand, or like building an infrastructure for a more green economy, for example.
I've been speaking to Data Brinanta. He's an NB Media Co-op contributor. You can often find his work on nbmediacoop.org. Thanks again for speaking to us today, Data.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.